Hello everyone, myself Monica Singh. Today, welcome to my session. Today I'm going to discuss about the lymphatic system. This is the remaining part of my last session. In my last session, I was discussed the lymph, their flow, their formation and composition, and the relationship between the cardiovascular and the pulmonary circulation with the lymphatic circulation. And today's session I am going to discuss about the lymphatic organ, tissues, and about the lymphatic vessels. So let's start. So first of all, what is the lymphatic tissues? These are the specialized form of reticular connective tissue. This is a part of the connective tissue, and that contain a large number of lymphocytes. As we can say that the cells of the lymphatic system is called lymphocytes, means cells of the lymphatic system. And all the lymphocyte cells are agranular white blood cells, means agranular WBC. As we know, the WBC are of two types, granular as well as agranular. So the lymphocyte cells are agranular WBCs, and they are formed in the red bone marrow, as we discussed earlier that lymphocyte cells are synthesized from the pluripotent stem cell in the red bone marrow. So when the all WBC are synthesized, then also the lymphocyte cells are synthesized, because these are the agranular white blood cells. And meaning of the agranular means there is no granule in their cytoplasm, so that's why we are calling them agranular cells. And the example of the lymphocytes are, means two type of lymphocytes are T cells and B cells. B lymphocytes and T lymphocyte. B stand from, they are synthesized from the bone marrow, so they are called B cells, B lymphocyte cells. And T, there is some relation with the thymus gland, so we are calling them T lymphocyte. T stands for thymus. So this is about the lymphatic tissue. Then the lymph capillaries. Lymph capillaries are the unique one-way structure and slightly larger in diameter as compared to blood capillaries. So this is the basic difference from the blood capillaries. They are larger in diameter, slightly larger in diameter, and permit the interstitial fluid to flow in and out. Interstitial fluid is the fluid present in between the tissues. And as we know, as we discussed earlier in my previous slides, interstitial fluid is if the interstitial fluid is excess in nature, then it will goes into the lymphatic vessels or lymphatic capillaries and maintain the balance between the blood capillaries and the lymphatic capillaries, as well as in between the tissue. So when the interstitial fluid is excess in amount, then it will goes into the lymphatic capillaries, which are the minute capillaries. Minute capillaries are the example of lymphatic vessels. So lymphatic capillaries are the minute lymphatic vessels. They have the interstitial fluid. Fluid comes in but not come out. Single layer of endothelial cell is more permeable to the interstitial fluid, including protein and the cell membrane, means that lymphatic capillaries has the endothelial lining, and that endothelial lining is more permeable towards the flow of interstitial fluid. So the interstitial fluid along with proteins and the cell debris can enter into the lymphatic capillary to the endothelial cell, and the lining or layer of the endothelial cell is only single. So lymphatic capillaries have the single layer of endothelial cells, which is more permeable towards the interstitial fluid along with proteins and the cell debris. But in the small intestine, there is a special type of lymphatic capillaries are present, and that is called lacteal, which carry the more lipid or more dietary lipid. At that time in the small vessel, we call that lymphatic capillary is a lacteal, having the more lipid. So this is the basic difference from the remaining or whole body capillaries, lymphatic capillaries, as compared to small intestine capillaries, lymphatic capillaries. So this is the basic difference between the intestinal lymphatic capillaries and the whole body lymphatic capillaries. small intestine lymphatic capillaries has a more dietary lipid or dietary content in their cytoplasm. So, due to the lipid of the lymph, it is called chyle, and the fluid of the lymphatic capillary in the intestine or the lacteal of the intestine is called chyle. At that time, this is not called lymph, this is called chyle, because it have a more content of lipids. This is the diagrammatic presentation of a lymphatic capillary. As we can see by the diagram, these yellow portion is called tissue cells. These are the tissue cells, which is denoted by the yellow color, and this is the lymphatic capillary, and this dark color line is shown by the endothelium of lymphatic capillary, and in between the tissues of the body, it is a fluid that is called interstitial fluid, and these are the supporting filament which provide the support to the tissue between the tissue and the lymphatic capillary. And this is the opening portion, opening part, where the excess interstitial fluid goes out into the lymphatic capillary. So this is the opening where the excess interstitial fluid goes into the lymphatic capillaries. By the second diagram, we can easily analyze the relationship between the arteriolar system and the venal system, veneal, arterial, and the lymphatic capillaries. This blue portion is denoted by the venules, and the red portion is denoted by the blood capillaries. They are formed in a conjugation. They form the networking, they form the conjugation between the veins and the arteries. Venule and arteries make the networking or the junction, where the exchange of the pure or impure blood will occur. And parallel to this, this is the green color capillaries, green color denoted capillaries is called lymphatic capillaries. Lymphatic capillaries having the lymph, and lymph is nothing, this is the excess interstitial fluid which comes from the tissues. This yellow portion is denoted by the tissue cell. So tissue cell allow the excess fluid into the lymphatic capillaries. So lymphatic capillary can receive the blood from the arteries, from the in between the tissues as an interstitial fluid, and drain out or pour out into the venal system, and through the venal system it will enter into the heart for the proper further purification, and then it will circulate into the whole body after entering into the further circulatory movements. So this is the diagrammatic presentation. This is the arteriole, this is having the blood, this is the venule having the impure blood, and the green color capillaries are the lymphatic capillaries having the lymph, and the yellow portion is the tissue cell having the interstitial fluid in between them. So this is the diagrammatic or pictorial presentation of lymphatic capillaries. Now in our body there is some cell who that don't have any type of lymphatic capillaries, and the example of that type of tissues are these are some avascular tissues. For example, are cartilage, epidermis of skin, cornea of eye, bones, and the superficial layer of the skin. So these are the tissues where they don't have any type of lymphatic capillaries, as well as CNS and some portion of spleen as well as bone marrow. So they are called they are that portion, they don't have any type of lymphatic capillary, they are free from lymphatic vessels or minute lymphatic vessels or capillaries. Now the lymphatic vessels. So lymphatic vessels are when the lymph capillaries combine or unite, they form the large lymphatic vessel, and they are closed at the one end. So small lymphatic capillaries unite and form the large lymphatic vessel. Resemble with vein, it is resemble in vein in structure but thinner in wall, and having the valves, cup shaped valves, which prevent the backflow. This is the difference between the blood vessels and the lymphatic vessel, and these valves ensure the flow in one direction towards the thorax. As well as some structure, same structure of the blood capillaries, that is single layer of the endothelial cell, and as the blood capillaries have the endothelial lining, same lining is also present in the lymphatic capillaries. So this is the description of the lymphatic vessel. So lymphatic vessels are union of the lymphatic capillaries. They are very resemble to the lymph vein, blood vascular veins, and they have a walls which prevent the backflow, and they allow the flow of the lymph towards the thorax, and they have a single layer of the lining like endothelium. So endothelium is a common feature in between the blood vessels as well as in the lymphatic capillaries. Next, this is the pictorial presentation of the lymphatic vessel. So this is the one view, and this is the longitudinal section. So this is the lymphatic vessel having the valves. Now here the valve is open, and these are the structure where the fluid is enter into the lymphatic vessel, as is mentioned here. Fluid entering lymphatic capillaries, fluid entered through the lymphatic capillaries into the lymphatic vessel, and now the wall is closed, and they allow the one-way direction or one-way movement of the flow of the lymph. And once the flow is reaches to the point, the wall is open and the back wall is closed when the lymph is pushed towards the thorax. So this is the diagram of lymphatic vessel, pictorial presentation of lymphatic vessel. Now the lymph trunk and the lymph duct. So vessels unite to form the lymph trunk. When the vessels are joined, they form the lymph trunk, and the lymph trunk is the junction or combination of the lymph vessel. So lymphatic vessels exit through when the lymphatic vessels exit through the lymph node, they unite to form the lymph trunk, and passes from the lymph trunk into two main channels. There is a two type, or two, we can divide the lymph trunk into two parts. Number one, thoracic or right lymphatic duct or right lymphatic duct. Duct is a union of lymphatic vessel to the lymphatic trunk. So if we divided the part of your whole lymphatic trunk, it is of two types, right and left, and the left part is called thoracic. So thoracic lymphatic duct is also called left lymphatic duct, and before draining into the venous blood. So before draining the lymph into the venous system, the collected lymph is drained out into the lymphatic duct or lymphatic trunk. Or lymphatic trunk is a junction where the vessels unite, where vessel exit from the lymph node and unite and pour the lymph into the duct. So we can divide the lymphatic trunk into the two parts, right and left, and the left part is called thoracic lymphatic duct or thoracic lymphatic trunk. Also we can say thoracic lymphatic trunk. So the main trunks in our body is divided into 5 parts: lumbar trunk, intestinal trunk, bronchio-mediastinal trunk, subclavian trunk, and the jugular trunk. As we can say, the lumbar trunk is that part where the lymph vessel collects the lymph from the lower part of our body, lower limbs, lower abdomen, and pour the lymph into that lymphatic node, and that lymphatic node unite to the lumbar trunk. This lumbar trunk is connected to the intestinal trunk. Intestinal trunk is that part, is that area. Intestinal trunk is that area where the intestinal region, the lymphatic vessel of the intestinal region will collect the lymph and enter into the, pour out into the lymphatic trunk. So this intestinal trunk is connect to the chyli cisternae, and above portion of our body is collect the lymph from the bronchio-mediastinal trunk, and this bronchio-mediastinal trunk collect the lymph from upper part of our body, like our pulmonary cavity, pulmonary system, or and combined with the subclavian trunk. This subclavian trunk is collect the lymph from the subclavicular region of our body, and jugular trunk collect the lymph from our neck region. So according to the collection of the lymph, we can divide the trunks into 5 parts. These trunks ultimately connect to the thoracic duct. This thoracic duct is connect to the subclavian vein, and this subclavian vein is ultimately connect to the heart for the further purification or collection of the lymph into the blood. So as we can say by this diagram, this is the right and the left lumbar trunk. Here is the right and left lumbar trunk. It is unite to the Calyx sterni, and Calyx sterni is unite to the or connect with the intestinal lymphatic trunk. This intestinal lymphatic trunk in the upper part connect to the descending thoracic lymphatic trunk, and this thoracic lymphatic trunk is connect to the thoracic duct. This thoracic duct is further connect with the subclavian vein, left side subclavian vein, with the help of jugular vein. This is unite with the junction of subclavian vein as well as the interjugular vein. So this thoracic duct will collect the lymph from the lower part of our body or whole part of our body, and our right side lymphatic duct is unite or collect the lymph from the right side of our body and unite to the thoracic duct. This thoracic duct in the combined form unite or connect with the subclavian vein. This subclavian vein further enter into the blood circulatory system. So ultimately the right lymphatic duct or the left lymphatic duct will connect to the subclavian vein, and subclavian vein is present in the junction of interjugular or the thoracic duct, or we can say the thoracic duct is present in between the junction of the interjugular vein or the subclavian vein. So this is the diagrammatic presentation of the lymphatic duct of the lymphatic trunk. Both are interrelated. So the thoracic duct, this is also called left lymphatic duct. This is begin from the cisternae chyli, and this is the main duct for return of the lymph to blood, and its length is approximately 38 to 45 centimeter long, and it drains the lymph into the venous blood at the junction of the left internal jugular and the left subclavian vein. So your left lymphatic duct, which is also called thoracic duct, pour the lymph into the junction of the jugular vein or subclavian vein, left side jugular vein or subclavian vein. Mainly it receives the lymph from the left side of your body, left side of your head, neck and chest, left side of upper limb, thoracic wall, left lung, heart, pelvic and abdominal cavity. So that thoracic duct or left lymphatic duct collect the lymph from the left side of the body. Then the right lymphatic duct, the length of the right lymphatic duct is 1 to 1.2 centimeter long. It receives the blood from right jugular vein, right subclavian vein, right bronchomediastinal trunk, and drain the lymph into the venous blood at the junction of left internal jugular, left subclavian vein. Ultimately, if the duct is right or left, but they pour the lymph into the junction of left jugular or left subclavian vein, whether the duct is present in your right side of your body or left side of your body, but ultimately they have to pour the lymph into the junction of right or left internal jugular and subclavian vein. This is the main junction where the heart is connected with your vein, basically subclavian vein. So that is the duct, main duct, which is present between the heart and between the subclavian vein. So that junction is the main site where the whole body collected lymph is unite with this junction and connect with the heart. And it receives the lymph from the right half of your thoracic wall, right part of the head and neck, and your right arm. So your right side of your body will pour the blood or will give the lymph to the lymphatic right lymphatic duct, and that right lymphatic duct is united with the further blood circulatory system through the subclavian vein after giving the lymph into that part. Now the lymph nodules, these are the egg-shaped messy structure or mass or connection or aggregation of lymphatic tissue. So this is the egg-shaped mass or aggregation of or aggregated part of the lymphatic tissue. When the some lymphatic tissue are united, they form some structure which is enclosed, which is not enclosed in by the some capsule. There is no capsular structure is present above the that aggregated mass. So it is not surrounded by the capsule, and they are scattered throughout the body. Basically the lamina propria of the mucous membrane lining of the GIT, urinary tract. So this is basically scattered in your whole body, basically into the lining of the membrane of the GIT, urinary tract, reproductive tract and the respiratory tract. So these are the main site where that type of lymphatic nodules are present, and lymphatic nodules are nothing, these are the group aggregation cluster of lymphatic tissues. The lymph nodules in this area are also called MALT, that is mucosa associated lymphatic tissue. So mucosa associated lymphatic tissue or MALT is nothing, this is the group of lymphatic nodules and they are present in your whole body, and these are the these are the lymphatic cells, and they have some features especially for the to balance the immunity, or they have a main feature like phagocytosis to engulf the foreign particle and protect the organ from the foreign particle or the antigen. This is the main feature of that nodules which is called MALT also. And the example of the nodules are: number 1, tonsil, which is present in your buccal cavity, Peyer's patches, they are present in the intestine, and the pharyngeal tonsil or adenoids, which is present in the posterior nasopharynx, posterior wall of the nasopharynx, and they are also, and the palatine, this is present in the posterior region of the oral cavity, and the lingual tonsil, they are present in the base of the tongue. So this is the example of the nodules. So tonsils, lingual tonsils, buccal tonsils and the Peyer's patches, these are nothing, these are the group of lymphocyte cells or lymph tissues, and they have they are phagocytic in nature. They destroy the foreign particle or antigen and protect the organ from the foreign particle and protect the organ to damage that antigen or pathogenic organism. So these are the point of this session or PPT, and as we discussed, so in today's session I want to discuss about the lymphatic tissues, which is nothing, these are the specialized reticular connective tissue, and lymphatic capillaries, these are the unique one-way structure, they are smaller in diameter as compared to blood capillaries, and they have a single layer of endothelium lining. And small intestine, the lymphatic capillary of the small intestine is called lacteal, having the scale that is enriched with the lipid dietary content, more dietary lipid content. And this is the diagrammatic presentation of the lymphatic capillaries. So lymphatic capillaries collect the blood, collect the excess interstitial fluid from in between the tissues and pour out into the lymphatic capillaries. And these are the example of some tissue that don't have any type of lymphatic capillaries. For example, your skin, superficial of the layer of skin, cornea of eye, epidermis of skin, cartilage, bone, CNS, and some portion of the spleen and the red bone marrow. And now in my next slide there is description of the lymphatic vessels. So lymphatic vessels are nothing, these are the combination of the lymphatic capillaries. They are closed at one end, they are very resemble to the vein in structure, but having the valves that prevent the backflow. They are allow the movement towards the thorax, and like the blood capillaries, they have a lining called endothelial cell. And this is the diagrammatic presentation of the lymphatic vessel having the valve and allow the movement of the fluid in the one-way direction. And lymphatic vessels are unique one-way structure combined by the united by the lymphatic capillaries having the valves. And now the lymphatic trunk or duct. So when the lymphatic vessel unite, they form the lymphatic trunk, and lymphatic trunk with the connect with the subclavian vein to the lymphatic duct, and we can broadly divide the lymphatic trunk into two parts according to the duct, that is thoracic or left lymphatic duct and the right lymphatic duct. The main feature of these ducts is to collect the lymph from the various part of the body and pour out into the or connect to the subclavian vein. So we have 5 type of trunk mainly according to the collection of the lymph. Number 1, lumbar trunk, interstitial trunk, bronchomediastinal trunk, subclavian trunk, and the jugular trunk. Lumbar trunk collect the lymph from the lower part of our body. Intestinal trunk receive the lymph from the intestinal region of the body like stomach, pancreas, and the spleen. And bronchomediastinal trunk collect the lymph from the upper part of our body. Subclavian trunk collect the lymph from the subclavicular region of our body, and the jugular trunk collect the lymph from the neck region of our body. And this is the diagrammatic presentation of the lymphatic duct and the lymphatic vessel. Here this is the main portion called chyle cisternae. This is the union. This is the junction where the right and left lymphatic vessel enter into the chyle cisternae, and this chyle cisternae ultimately connect with the right and left lymphatic duct, and this right and left lymphatic duct unite with the junction of the interjugular duct and the subclavian vein, and this subclavian vein pour the lymph into the heart. This is the diagrammatic this is the description of the left lymphatic duct and the right lymphatic duct. Now the lymph nodule, this is the aggregated mass of the lymphatic tissues, and the example of the lymph nodules are like this: tonsils, Peyer's patches, pharyngeal tonsil, lingual tonsil, etc. So these are the references which I have opted to prepare that presentation, and thank you so much. I hope these points are quite beneficial for you to make the notes as well as to build up your knowledge. So thank you so much. Stay happy and safe.